Could I have your full name, please?
My name is Tasin Islam, and you can call me Tasin.
So, where are you from, Tasin?
I'm basically from Bogura, which is the northern gate of Bangladesh, and it is also famous for its famous card known as doi.
So, do you work or study?
I'm currently neither studying or working. Currently, I'm preparing for IELTS and planning to go to abroad. But I have recently passed my higher secondary certificate examination.
Now, in this first part, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. So, let's talk about your neighborhood. So, do you like your neighbors?
Yes, definitely, I like my neighbors because from my perspective, I think that they're very helpful to us, and we often meet them, and they come to our house as well. So I really like them.
So, what is your neighborhood like?
My neighborhood is very calm and quiet, I must say, because there are a lot of people in my neighborhood, but they are very calm and quiet, and they follow the basic rules of the society, and they respect each other. So I must say they're very calm and quiet.
So, do you think you are a good neighbor?
Yes, definitely. For me, I think I am a good neighbor because I respect all the neighbors of my neighborhood, and we often visit them. My family and me often visit their home, and we often go out with each other. So yes, I definitely think that.
So, how do neighbors can help each other?
Well, neighbors can help each other by various methods, like whenever one is facing some problems, they can come forward and help each other, or they can do some work together, and also they can precisely point out the problems in their neighborhood, and they can work together to find some solutions.
So, do you think your neighborhood is a good place for the children?
Yes, definitely. I do think that my neighborhood is a good place for the children because there are parks and children friendly stuff in my neighborhood where children can play and spend their time, and they will be able to spend some quality time in my neighborhood. And I do think that my neighborhood is somewhere where children can have fun and enjoy.
So, do you think it's important to have a good relationship with your neighbors?
Yes, of course, I do think that we should have good relationship with our neighbors because neighbors are the people who we live with, and neighbors are people with whom we must have a good relation because without them we are dependent on them, and by having a good relation with them we can have a good sense of society, and we also be able to find solutions of most of the problems of our neighborhood. So yes, definitely I do think that.
Lovely, thank you. Now I'm going to give you a topic and I would like you to talk about 1 to 2 minutes. You have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say. If you want, you can take notes here. Use a paper, pen, and question. Describe an interesting traditional story. Okay, now you have 1 to 2 minutes for this topic, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll let you know when the time's up. Could you please fill in that now, please?
So now I'm going to talk about a traditional story which is an ant and the grasshopper. And in class 1 I got to know about it from my English teacher. He told me about this traditional story, and he taught me in my class about this and told me to read this story for my examination. So this story is basically from the Aesop's fable, and the moral of the story is do work hard today and get the reward tomorrow. So the story is basically about the ant and the grasshopper. The ant spends his summer doing a lot of things, gathering food and working hard to store food for the winter, whereas the grasshopper didn't work hard in the summer, and for which she couldn't gather any food for the winter. So when winter came, the ant was able to enjoy his foods, and he was able to enjoy the foods which he stored in the summer, whereas the grasshopper couldn't store any food. That's why she was unable to enjoy her winter, and she was in a completely devastated form. So she went back to the ant and told him to give her some food, but the ant refused. So I think I was very saddened by hearing this story because of the grasshopper, who was very much undoubtful of her, and she didn't work hard in the summer, for which she couldn't gather any kind of food, whereas I felt very much happy for the ant because he worked very hard in the summer and stored food for him, and he was very clever because he knew that without storing food he wouldn't be able to enjoy in the winter. So I feel very saddened for the grasshopper, and felt very happy and encouraging for the ant, because I think the ant was very clever in this situation, whereas the grasshopper acted very dumb, and she could also store food for the summer. And this is the story I got to know from English teacher.
Thank you. Could I have the paper and pen, please? Well, you have been talking about an interesting traditional story about ant and grasshopper. Now I'm going to ask you some questions which are related to this topic. So, what kind of stories do children like?
Well, children write various kind of stories like traditional stories, folk stories, and horror stories, fictional stories, the various kind of stories they like, and they read it um, in their day-to-day life. Sometimes they find folk stories better than traditional stories, and they are taught these stories in their classrooms by their teachers or from their parents or their grandmothers. Some people learn it by online, and some people have basic interest in these stories. So they tend to research it online and get all the stories they want to know.
So, do all stories for children have happy endings?
Not really, not all the stories of the stories that are taught to the children are have happy endings. Like many stories have many endings. Some have happy endings and some have not happy endings, which are not happy. So I do think that in case of children, happy endings should be taught, and there are stories which have happy endings and which have sad endings, and yeah, in most of the cases there are happy endings.
So, is a good storyline important for a movie?
Yes, definitely a good storyline is important for the movie because a movie is based on the story, and uh, the movie gradually goes on by the depth of the story. So whenever there is a good story or a good storyline, I think people are attracted to the movie much more than a story which is bad and not humorous to the audiences. So I do think a movie should have a good storyline for which they will be able to attract the audiences, and also the audiences will be attracted to see the movie and come to the theater.
Thank you, Tasin. That is the end of your speaking test.
Bilingual Learning Center, BLC, Bogura.